First Class Fatherhood. That is where Alec Lace comes in with his popular podcast.
And one of the most interesting was on a podcast.
Alec Lace interviews high-profile fathers from actors to NFL players with a vision to change the narrative of fatherhood and family life.
Joining me now, First Class Father, James Lowe, better known as Coach Ballgame. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Honored to be here. Thanks for having me, Alec.
All right, let's start it here. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
Well, I got an 8-year-old daughter who's in 3rd grade, and I got a 4-year-old daughter who's in pre-K. So 2 girls, and we're calling it a day right there. No more kids for me. I think I have about 1,000 sons on the baseball field in my coaching. So having 2 daughters at home is plenty.
Very cool. Yeah, it took us 4 tries to get that girl. So we had 3 boys, then got her finally, and that was it for us. So, and you talk about the baseball. If you could, James, please take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
So born and raised North Carolina, where I just fell in love with the game of baseball at a very young age. Had a big backyard and had 2 older brothers and a dad that taught me the game and invited neighbors over, and we'd have Sandlot games in our backyard. So baseball came naturally. Watched a lot of baseball on TV with my pops. That's kind of how I learned the game. And then I got a chance to play 4 years of college baseball at Brown University. From there, out west to LA, where I started coaching kids. I hung up the cleats. My playing days were over, but I loved being around the game, and I loved impacting kids. So I had an opportunity with a former teammate of mine from Brown coaching these youth baseball camps over the summers. And that's how my coaching career began. I feel like my 20s were my grad school for coaching. I had really good mentors that I would work underneath, and they'd really show me the power of positive reinforcement and building character and making it very fun. So once I hit 30, got married, started having my own kids, my wife gave me a nice little nudge to start my own thing and to really get Coach Ballgame off the ground. So my 20s were all about failing and really trying all the different things that I loved, which was theater and music. And, I played in a bunch of different bands on the drum kit. I love to create and write. All the arts that I loved doing in my younger days and in college, I failed at it. And I really wasn't driven by my parents to settle, which I'm very thankful for. They didn't drive me, okay, go work on that business econ degree of yours. No, they said, go after what you love. And so I did that. And thankfully, once Coach Ballgame got cranked up, I can bring a drum set or a bongo drum on the baseball field. I can create these characters for these kids. I can write poetry and sing songs, and it engages these kids. So all of those things that I failed at in my 20s, I've taken and learned from, and I'm able to use now. So there's this marriage of all of my interests into one thing, and now it's called Coach Ballgame.
Yeah, and you've had tremendous success with this on social media as well. It's being very well received. I know you're over 100,000 followers on TikTok, more than 3.5 or 3.2 million likes over there. So people are enjoying the content. They're loving the content. Well, what seems to be the thing that clicked and kind of set it off? What are the videos that are the most popular? I mean, I know that they're all informative. A lot of them are, obviously they have some entertainment value to them, but a lot of them come with something that actual little league coaches, they can actually use and apply when they're actually coaching their kids. So what were the videos that kind of really set the Coach Ballgame thing off on social media? What was the one?
Well, I've learned that with social media, if you want to get a lot of views, you got to solve a problem. You got to solve somebody's problem. And I tapped into, in my 20s, ways to engage kids in a fun way. And it can be very boring to learn how to catch a baseball or throw a baseball or field a ground ball. But if you throw a catchphrase in there, or if you create this song that they're going to go home singing to their parents, then they'll remember it and it lasts. So the most popular videos I do on TikTok and Instagram are definitely instructional videos, where even maybe a guy that played Major League Baseball would really get some use out of, because they don't know how to teach a 5-year-old how to catch, right? They've been used to throwing at 95 miles an hour and playing the game like a pro. But when you try and teach a 5-year-old how to catch a ball, you kind of need a catchphrase. So my catchphrase is meet, squeeze, and freeze. That's how you catch a baseball, and you can toss it up against a wall. You can toss it up in the air and high five it. So I wrote a meet, squeeze, and freeze song. I also have one for throwing, where you point your glove, you knock the ball towards the sky, and you fire. And creating songs of how to get down and ready. I call it dancing on a toilet. You get kids laughing, you get kids singing along with it, clapping along with the tune. They're going to go home, they're going to tell their parents that song, and they're going to teach them what they learned of how to catch, throw, or get down and ready. So I think those are the most popular ones, where I'm helping a mom or a dad when they're trying to teach their 5, 6, 7-year-old how to catch, how to throw. And then some others that get a lot of views are my nickname videos. I think the most important thing I can do as a coach is to relate and engage the kids upon their arrival. So the first rule of Sandlot, which are the baseball camps that I coach, is you got to have a nickname. And I ask them what their real name is, what they love to do, what they love to eat, what's their favorite animal, favorite superhero. And based on things that they love, we'll come up with a good nickname for them. And then I'll have them line up at home plate, and I'm sitting on my cajon drum, and I'll rattle off their nicknames as they run around the bases, beating on that drum. And those videos get a lot of views and likes as well. And I think when I go around the country on my tours, that's what everybody asks. Like, how can you memorize all these nicknames? How do you do that? And the answer is, well, you create meaning to the name. You know, if it's just John, I don't have any frame of reference or historical value to that name, John. But when you call a kid Johnny Bag of Ribeyes, well, okay, they must love steak. They must like to eat lots of steak. And so Johnny Bag of Ribeyes it is. Or I got a great nickname yesterday. A kid, he wanted to be called Leaf Pile. I mean, his name is Branson, but if you create this other persona, what do you love to do? I love to jump into leaf piles. Okay, that's your nickname. He kind of, once he steps onto the field, he's not just Branson. He's this superhero. He's Leaf Pile. So really engages the kids, and they love it. But as far as memorizing all those nicknames, I provide meaning to it, and it sticks.
Yeah, that's awesome, James. And I know that baseball now, especially, it's a 365-day-a-year sport. I mean, so many kids are playing baseball year-round. They have so many different travel leagues. So it's become like a full-time job, in a sense, for so many parents that have their kids playing just the one game all year long. So I would imagine that's got to keep you busy. Do you run this throughout the year? I mean, I would imagine you can never find a time where there's not at least a baseball league or something somewhere for you to go. And is that what the case is? You travel to these different places and put these camps on? Is that how it works out?
Yeah. So my home is here in Orange County, California. And the beautiful thing about Orange County, California is I can coach outdoors year round. So right now I'm in the midst of a fall season of Sandlots. So these are after school programs zoned primarily towards teaching the love of baseball and building character. And so I do that in the fall. Then I have a winter session as well, where the weather's beautiful here, and then a spring season. And that's my school schedule. Now, each month I'll go to one or two different places in America. I'll fly to Florida in February and do some Sandlots there. I'll go to Texas or Arizona in March. Last year I went to Salt Lake City, Utah in April. I went to Toronto in May. And then I always go back home to North Carolina in June and run lots of baseball Sandlots there. I've also partnered up with MLB. They've hired me on to be the ambassador of Play Ball, which is their initiative to grow the game to our youth. So they'll fly me around to different places. They'll be flying me to New York City in a couple of weeks to run a Play Ball camp. So my home base is here, and I've built up a good staff of assistant coaches that are great, and they really see through my lens of making it fun and building character. So anytime I got to fly to a different state, they'll hold up the fort here. But it's become my favorite thing to do, is to go around to different states, different cities, and find these boots on the ground that can get the word out to their community, find me a baseball field. And then I just show up with my drum and dish out nicknames and show them how baseball can be really fun. It's kind of like Johnny Appleseed, but on a baseball field. And I bring that circus to their town, and they really enjoy it. So my goal is to have a Sandlot going in all 50 states by 2025. And that means not only just me going there and coaching these Sandlots, but finding the heart and soul of each community that I go to and say, hey, I can't be in 50 places at once. Can you be the coach Ballgame of this town? And I think there's a lot of people out there that would thrive on the job. I certainly do. It's a life giver for me. So that's the next phase of Sandlots.
I love the dream or the vision, James, but how does this affect you now as a father with your two daughters? Like, how do you balance this out? You're traveling all over the place. Do you bring the girls with you at certain points? How do you work this into the schedule around school and the whole bit with what they got going on?
Yep, very good point. And I make it my mission to bring them to as many of these places as I can. As school is very important, but I think that them going to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, meeting all these different families in this place, maybe working in the snack shack, which they did this past summer with some other kids in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, learning life skills, or going to see Madison, Wisconsin, or the Field of Dreams, or New York City, or Chicago, or the Big Arch in St. Louis. When they go to these different places, man, they're just growing so much in life skills and in social skills. And the only tough part about it is when we leave that town and take the bus to the next town, they're pretty sad. They built some great relationships in these towns, and it's sad for them to see it go. But my third grader was a little bit late last year for school, and just got back in time this year because we always do an August tour through the Midwest and the East Coast. So I try and bring as much as I can. It's not a perfect science. And Mrs. Ballgame, my wife, Tara Jean, she's able to hold up the fort here when I do jump around from place to place. But yeah, as much as I can get them to the field and with me, I just feel better. And I think it's a family business. And when I'm too old to do this, my girls will run the show.
Yeah, that's awesome, James. One thing on this show I focus on all the time is the fatherless crisis that we have going on with so many kids growing up without a father in the home. And I'm kind of curious, you work with so many young kids. Is there a noticeable difference for you when you're getting around kids that have no father figure in their life, in their home? Is it very noticeable for you as opposed to the kids that are coming there with the two-parent household?
Well, it's interesting. Great point there. And yeah, it is. I feel it in my heart when I can tell there's something going on at home, and I try and get as deep as I can with each child, just to kind of relate to them and kind of figure them out and understand. Okay, they're going to respond to this, or they're not going to respond very well to certain energies that I bring out. But yeah, there are definitely places where I can just tell the father's not present. And maybe they're a little bit on the bashful side, or they're a little bit on the rambunctious side. And either way, I know my mission in that moment is to just try and be the best uncle I can be. Maybe I'm not going to teach that kid how to play baseball great today, but I can show them that a male figure can be a positive, sweet, kind person in their life, and maybe that'll give them confidence moving forward as they, have other coaches or other men that step into their lives and try and be a positive influence. Because I've seen it. I've seen how these 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, they're on their phones and they realize, okay, being negative or being mean or being a bully or being disrespectful is kind of popular. And I really take that to heart. I take it personally when I see somebody being disrespectful to mom or being a bully to somebody else. And I take it so personally that I'm going to make sure that they know that's not okay. And as much as I'm the fun coach, if I step into a situation where I'm needed to be a positive influence, I'm gonna make it my mission. I'm gonna let that kid know, no, a baseball player does it differently. A baseball player is kind. They're respectful. They give that quiet, uncomfortable eye contact to the teacher or the coach, and they give fist bumps. They're spreading positivity and joy. So, yeah, as far as the fatherless crisis that we have, well, I don't really know the remedy for that, but I do know that there's a lot of great coaches out there that can do something about it, that can help. And that's kind of my mission of getting Sandlots going all around the country is for any kids that have something going on at home or a broken family, they have a weekly thing that they can look forward to. And they know that lady or that man, that coach that I have, they're going to make me smile. And they're gonna give me some tools that I can use when I go to school tomorrow when somebody's tempting me to be mean. No, you know what? That's not how Roberto Clemente would do it. That's not how Albert Pujols would do it. I like to tell stories about these baseball players that have been very kind and been great servers of their community because those kids won't listen to their parents, but they'll listen to this guy, and that's kind of how it works. I see my daughters. Sometimes they won't listen to dad, but the other 50 kids at the camp will. So I think sometimes kids listen to coaches more than they do their moms and dads.
It's so important what you're doing. And I love what you're saying there too. And I know that the scope has changed. You talk about bullying, what kids are going through today. I mean, just last week, one of my sons is a sophomore in high school, and there was a girl in his class that committed suicide last week, 14 years old. And it was a bullying problem that had been persistent in her life. And I know growing up, there was always fights, people getting picked on. The bully has been around since the dawn of man. But it just seems like I think this social media aspect has just taken this to a whole nother level, because it's like now people have pictures, images, just that they can stay in your mind and harass you and taunt you from morning till night. And I just think that something has got to be done as far as kids having access. I mean, my kids, my older ones that are in high school have the phones. They don't have social media accounts as far as I know. I don't know if they got whatever it is with the Finstas. I know they have these fake accounts, but I think social media has become it's a disaster for adults, but I think it's crippling to our youth.
No doubt about it. And I'm thankful that I'm not quite there with my daughters. I'm going to be a big advocate of the flip phone until they're 30, and I'll probably lose that. But yeah, it's really crippling is the right word. As great as it's been for a business owner like me to get the word out and be able to get a Sandlot going in Arcadia, North Carolina, or Hamilton, New Jersey. Social media has been great for that. It's crippling just as much as it is productive. So I don't know, man. I don't know the answer. I know what can I give to the situation is before they get a phone, when they're 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, tell them the dangers of it. Let them know the dangers of being a bully. Let them know when you throw a ball over a kid's head and then that kid yells at you because you made a bad throw, that's wrong. When a parent yells at an umpire because they made a bad call, that's wrong. And just because it's popular doesn't make it right. If I can instill these values before they're 13, I mean, that's my place. That's my space. That's what I can do to hopefully help the situation. And then, we've got to be able to control the head down, always on the scrolling social media act, because I've noticed it with any 12-year-olds I've coached that have a cell phone and have these apps on their phone. They act differently. They're more ADHD. They're less respectful. They're less present. And I think that's That's huge. We got to be more present and less just focused on all of these different pictures that we're seeing. And with, the 14-year-old that took her own life, I mean, it can't happen. It's just too devastating for that to happen. So hopefully I can get some engagements going in schools where I can speak to kids on this because, I know God has given me a gift to be able to kind of look a kid in the eye and say, what you're doing is awesome or what you're doing is wrong. And they'll listen to me, And so my goal, but yeah, it's heart wrenching.
And you make a great point too, James. The social media part of it, the good thing, like you said, for me, I never had social media accounts till I began the podcast here because I didn't really see the point of it, and I still don't, unless you're actually promoting something or selling something, or you have something of that nature. I really don't get the point of this. I mean, I understand families wanting to share pictures with families across the country. I mean, there's some good parts to it, but there's just so much garbage. I think the parents too, as much as we say the bullying with the kids that goes on, parents, it's like or adults are bullying each other online all day long. It's like, God forbid you type something, you think it's a nice thing. Someone comes and attacks you. It's like what we're seeing on there is, and then also too, and I've noticed myself, screen time, I'm using so much more of it myself, and I'm not living by the example because everything that I do with the podcast is around the phone. If I don't have my phone on me, I can't do any of it. So it's hard to discipline myself, and I know I got to do a better job of it as well. But I know speaking about discipline, and you're talking about kids that'll listen to you, what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad, and is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
Oh no, I would say me and my wife are on the same page with it, and a lot of times, we have to calm each other down because again, just like on the baseball field, when we're at home, if I notice any sort of disrespect, same with my wife, man, we take it very personally, and I've learned to take some deep breaths and slow everything down because I was kind of born and raised in a pretty strict household. Till the age I was 3, there was no questioning mom or dad. It was, we went to church 4 times a week. We went to a Christian preschool, went to a Christian elementary school. It was really by the book. And I'm naturally a pleaser. I'm naturally a yes man. And then when you add the strictness of the household there, it was just not okay to talk back or argue with mom or dad. So that's where I'm coming from when I hear my daughter react in a negative way or a disrespectful way or an argumentative way. But then I have to step back and say, wait, she's not me. I mean, she is my daughter, but I got to step into her shoes for a second. Otherwise, it's just going to combust because when somebody feels like they're just getting yelled at and the person that's yelling at them isn't showing any sort of empathy or relation to their state, they turn you off. And I've learned that pretty quickly. That's why I engage and relate as much as I can with all the players I coach, because when I do want to challenge them, I need to have earned their trust first. And they need to see, wait, Coach Ballgame, he showed me sadness before. He's not always just rah, 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 that guy. Like it's a genuine place that he's coming from when he challenges me. So that's what I try and do as a father is when I've made a mistake, man, I got to go in there before bed and I got to say, I messed up. I'm sorry. The mischievous nature that you have, you get that from me. Every negative trait that you have, you got it from me. And I think those are the moments when my daughter will actually submit and say, it's okay, daddy, or I'm going to try and do better, daddy, is when I actually, drop all the, I drop all the armor and just be raw and genuine with her. That's when we get to a good place. And, I'm learning with the 8-year-old and as the 4-year-old gets older, hopefully I can come from a better place there. So we're pretty strict parents, that's for sure. But I'm learning how to manage that in a way where she's not going to turn me off.
Very cool. And getting back onto the diamond there, one last thing about the baseball is what would you say, James, is the most common mistake or biggest thing that kids are doing wrong that you're coming to all these different places? What's the most common mistake you're seeing with kids that you automatically seem to have to correct all the time?
Well, I'll start with what I think is more important, and that's kind of the social aspect of the game, or the mental side of the game, and that's just this fear of failure. And I think a lot of it stems from parents, and parents aren't trying to sabotage their kids, but when there's this win at all costs mentality in a game, I see a lot of kids turn from a really fun, great player in practice to this kind of tight, defensive, afraid to fail player in the game. And when you've got a coach or a parent screaming, "Hey, don't strike out," or "Don't chase a bad pitch," or "Don't walk this guy," they immediately just think of the worst. Like the anxiety that a parent is feeling in the bleachers, multiply that by 10, and that's what your 10-year-old is feeling in the box. So I really try and educate the parents on how to just keep it cool. Go to the snack shack, get some popcorn, go stand behind left field, and just enjoy 2 hours of a baseball game. Make it feel like a birthday party. Why? Because they're going to play better when they're having more fun. They're going to play worse when they're afraid to fail. So that's what I see a lot of, and I try and train the parents to go about it the right way, and then the kids will follow. As far as any kind of instructional thing I would give for baseball players, I think I could go with catching a ball like this, where they get hit in the face and then they're afraid of the ball, as opposed to what we want to do, which is high five, meet, squeeze, and freeze. And you can practice that on your bed. You can toss it up and practice high-fiving it with a tennis ball to get more brave. With throwing the ball gets too close to their ear and they push. So we try and create a capital L and create this whip where they're throwing the ball with a nice, low, fast motion. And then for hitting, there's like a reach back and a golf underneath the ball that happens a lot with young kids. And I think, we think we're going to hit it really far when we reach back far and we go, we take this long swing, but we actually want to have this short, quick swing forward to the ball. So those are just three basic things that I see all over the country. And just one little song or one little catchphrase can really get them on the right track, and then they'll perform better in the games and the parents will yell less, and we're in a good place. But all in all, my mission is to kind of push back against the narrative that's been seeping into the youth sports. You've got to win. You've got to be on the best travel team. And there's this specialization. You've got to only play one sport year round, or you're not going to make it in the high level. I mean, that's just false. That's just a lie. Mike Trout's a great outfielder because he played high school basketball and he was an all-state basketball player. These college coaches and these major league and minor league coaches, they want great athletes that aren't burnt out mentally and physically. So play multiple sports, become a great athlete. The cream will rise to the top. But when I have a 7-year-old come to me and say, my travel ball coach won't let me play soccer because I have to play year-round baseball, that kid is demoralized because they want to play baseball with all their friends. They also want to play soccer. They want to swim. They want to be a kid. They want to have dinner with their family at the table. So create a multifaceted athlete and make sure you don't burn them out. I think that's the most important thing I could say all day.
Yeah, I love that. And James, just as much as there's the good content like yours on social media, we see it all the time with these videos of parents that are becoming just, unbelievably, violent at some of these games, the way that they yell at the umps. It's like you see so many of those videos too. So it's great to see that there's positive content on there like yours. I'm going to drop the links to your socials in this podcast description, but where do they go? Where do the people go to find you online?
Yeah, Coach Ballgame. I don't think you've really heard those two words in the same sentence. It doesn't happen much. Most people call me Coach Baseball or Mr. Baseball, but it's Coach Ballgame, at Coach Ballgame on all the socials, and then CoachBallgame.com. is where you'll find all my camps across the country. And I've got a podcast as well on making youth sports better and making parents better sports parents and kids happier kids. So it's all at Coach Ballgame: YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and then www.coachballgame.com is the main hub.
Yeah, I love that. And like I said, I'm going to drop the link to all that in the description of the episode so my listeners can tap it, get on over there. Great resource for so many dads out there. Last thing I want to hit you with, James, I love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
No, I don't want to end on a negative thought, but maybe this isn't negative. This is productive. I just didn't have anybody really warn me how difficult those first 6 months were. There was a lot of, it's going to be the best. It's going to be the best. It's so exciting. And then I get into the thralls of it with your wife has just had a major thing happen. So their body is not acting normally. So you need to, as whatever their pain level is, multiply it by about 7, and that's what it really is. So really be their best teammate for your wife, and just be ready for the toughest of days. There's a lot of no sleep. There's a lot of evening coffees, and when you get into all the things like breastfeeding and the complications that come with that, and then it's just a lot of very challenging times. And here's how I'll round it all out. Just don't give up, man. Just be your strongest, toughest, football-minded teammate there, and just keep after it, because I know it can add some strain to your relationship with your wife. Just be their best teammate. Be their number one fan, and then it does get better. It gets better. It gets easier. But yeah, I think that's important. It's going to be really tough, and be ready for it.
Yeah, love the message. Coach Ballgame, James Lowe, thank you. You're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here on First Class Fatherhood.
You're the man. Attaboy.
You have been listening to First Class Fatherhood. First Class Fatherhood is a family-made media podcast. Please visit www.firstclassfatherhood.com or www.familymade.com to find out more details. You can order First Class Fatherhood advice and wisdom from high-profile dads on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Proverbs 22:6 tells us, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will never depart from it." God bless, and I'll catch you next time.